Hello, come join me in this eternal moment as I teach you this one lesson that helped me transform my life. Welcome to Astral Escapes. Here I teach metaphysical concepts, offer emotional guidance, and shine light on spiritual truths. Let class commence. Now, on today's lesson, I'm going to show you and dive deeper into this one lesson, this one concept, this one idea, this one reality that helped me overcome my struggles and move towards a more progressive and aligned and creative state. And it is the concept of narrative, of story, and of depth of consciousness underlying all actions and thoughts. So it is important and essential that you integrate the reality that every single day you are part of an internal monologue, i.e., an internal story that is constantly speaking, that is constantly being added to, that is constantly informing you of how to think, of how to act, and how to relate to people, to the world, to yourself, and directly influences you at all times, regardless of whether you're aware of it or not, which is the most important thing, because the lack of awareness of this story, of this narrative that you speak into existence, that you speak into your mind, that you allow to permeate through you into the material, being in this unaware state is chaotic and is destructive. So we are aiming to set the intention to become aware of it in its initial steps. Now, to understand your story is to understand yourself. It's to set the intention to be incredibly honest and truthful and transparent with your introspection. Because the main reason why most are, and why I was unaware of my story, why we are unaware of our story, is because underneath it are uncomfortable truths, uncomfortable aspects of ourselves that we have trouble relating with, and we therefore let the story continue without introspection, without any analysis. And it is on the individual level of this occurring that it materializes on the collective level. It is through a large range of individuals not articulating and realigning their story to a positive goal that results in a collective ambition, a collective ugly ambition based upon lack of worth and desirability. So you're not only doing this for your own self, but you're doing this for a collective ideal, a collective path. Because the future of humanity will very much reflect the individual story. So you may think that because the reality is playing out on a material level, but it is also playing out on a psychic level, where we tell ourselves in this invisible realm what is real, and then the material will reflect that. And it's very important to understand this, because this is incredibly powerful, incredibly powerful. It is why we are very, and have historically, love stories. We love narrative. We love the hero's journey, because we can relate to it. Because within our own inner monologue, we have these, heroes and evil villains, and we place ourselves and we place people in these roles, whether you're aware of it or you're not. We are constantly doing this. We are constantly creating a world within us, i.e., the origin of creation, that then permeates, translates into the material. And you have an individual responsibility towards yourself and towards the collective. It is very important that you understand that, because you are directly influencing not only your own life, but the lives of the collective. And the collective will show the inner of the individual. And to shine light on the individual is not going to be easy. It's not going to be comfortable. It's going to require you to actively seek out that which makes you, that which disturbs you, that which distresses you. But it is through that process that you're aiming to transmute that which is dark into light, that which is unaware into awareness, that which is not present into presence. You are actively creating the highest form of creation, the most challenging form, the most rewarding, the most transformative. And it is important that you understand this one lesson, because you look out into the world, and I once was part of this dilemma of nihilism, despair, and hopelessness, believing that I had no part, I had no role, I had no position, I had no relation, and I was a distant island where I was marooned in my own nihilism and despair, because I didn't understand this truth. I didn't understand my story that I was not only creating but had created. Right now, your story is part of your entire history that is communicating with you, letting you know what has happened, what is happening, and what is going to happen. And that is where karma, the idea of karma, plays its role. Because this story, or karma, is what has happened, what is happening, and what is going to happen. But that process of creation only occurs to the unaware individual, the individual who believes they are not a creator, to the individual who believes they are not powerful, will follow that trajectory of the story, of the karma, where they are the villain through experiences that have resulted in unworthiness, guilt, or shame as examples, will then aim to co-create and validate those emotions, those past emotions, presently and in the future. And if you are unaware of that, that is exactly what will manifest more and continue to occur in your life. That is a 100% guarantee. So you are doing this with a very real intention, a transformative intention, one that will truly help you step into your role as the divine creator that you are, because you are part of a material reality. It is important. However, you are part of a metaphysical reality, one based on narrative and story and relation to self, to depth, to the origin of creation. And if you are not tapped into that, if you are not aware or present of that, then you will let the story grow like weeds, and they will proliferate into a chaotic eruption of noise, where your story becomes no longer a symphony, but just loud clanging of previous trauma actively seeking validation. These unaware stories are previous unheard emotions, traumatic emotions that are actively seeking out, actively creating through the aim of validation. They want more of, to validate the past. That is a form of creation. But that is an unaware, unpresent form of creation, an undivine, a low, an ego. The ego is attached to these emotions, these identities, these labels, these definitions. It's categorized you as an individual, a divine, eternal being, as just unworthiness, as just shame, as just guilt. And the ego, through labels, through a desire for control, through a desire for definition, to box, will actively seek in the present and in the future to validate those definitions, those emotions, those identities moving forward and in your life now. That is your ego creation. An ego creation based on desires, based on short-term tendencies, flash in the pan desires stemming from unworthiness, shame, or guilt, or one of the many other traumatic emotions in association. So there are two forms of creation. You got the egoic, and you got the egoic form, and you got this creation in the form of the divine, where you align to your eternal dimension, and your ego is aligned to a temporary dimension. Flash in a pan emotions, I'm guilty, I'm shame, and they come and they go, and they move, and they're loud and they're quiet, and they're close and they're far, and they're moving, and they're erratic, and they're like weeds growing everywhere. There's no order, it's chaos. Or you've got the divine, the eternal, the still, the present, the clear, the sharp, the penetrated, the accurate, the smooth. And you are very much faced with these two potentialities every time, right now, you have, and you always have been, and you always will be. And in this sphere of time, you've been making stories, you have been making decisions. Is today going to validate this story that I've created? Are you happy with this story? Have you evaluated this, or are you aware of your story? If so, is it positive? Is it negative? Is it informing you of inspirational ideas? Is it moving you into areas of discomfort in order to produce progress? If it is not, you need to let it go. You need to let it go. You need to accept that. You need to prioritize your value and your responsibility as to step into your role as divine creator, to not only benefit yourself, but to benefit the collective ambition towards a holy aim, an aim of divinity rather than temporary egoic desires. It is important that we as a species begin to act from a place of the eternal, to let ideas come through in an authentic environment, not based upon the individual or the collection of individuals who create their story based on their karma, their story that is rooted in unaware trauma. So fundamentally, to begin, I would advise to begin with just because that's a lot of information. I just throw in a curveball at you, and you're thinking, whoa, like, what's this guy talking about? It's a lot to engage, there's a lot to work through, there's a lot of conflicting emotions. The ego's like, no, you're talking nonsense, and there's a part of you that's like, oh, there's part of you makes you react in a comfortable way because you feel this sort of the discomfort of the height of your potentiality and where you are now, and it's overwhelming because you see the distance, and that's all natural. You take the rough with the smooth. You be open to this experience without thought, but through feeling, and you let come in what comes into you, because what comes into you is right for you in this specific moment. Because everyone has their own trajectory, everyone has their own stories and their own layers to their stories. Only they can. I'm not here to tell you your story. That is up to you. You are the creator. So I would advise taking simple steps to begin with, because it is going to take these stories, as I said, are deep in their layers, and they accrue through years of experience, through daily experience. So I would suggest taking simple steps to to begin with, just to become aware and to listen to begin with, and then to be as transparent as possible. Secondly, to integrate, to connect with the story, to integrate the harsh reality of your story. And then from that acceptance, you can then create a new, because you see the flaws in your current story, and it makes you want to, through the uncomfortable realization, makes you want to create healthy decisions, and ultimately a healthy relationship with yourself that will then move into a healthy collective agenda, path, future. So with that, I wish you all the best, and remember, you are cultivating a story right now. Embrace this, and I wish you all the best. Bye.